Anyway, let's make a model for Google. So this is an income statement that we're trying to model here. We'll do this. I'm used to doing hundreds of these. So, in fact, I have a Google model somewhere, but I figured I'd start from scratch just to show you guys how it all works. So, again, a lot of this is just Microsoft Excel. You get used to using Microsoft Excel for a while. I'm actually going to put this over here because to show you it's much faster than going back and forth. It's also fast if you have a two monitors. It's not that important though. Alright, so you can see that the Q1 column is actually towards the right, where most financial statements is going to be on the left, and the last year is going to be on the right, but they do it sort of backwards. Of course, I think Google will probably tell you that everybody else is doing it backwards, which may be very well be true. So anyway, so you can see their revenue they booked is more than Microsoft. It's $68 billion. Even though Google is a much younger company than Microsoft. It's bigger technically by revenue. What was the Microsoft revenue again? We could just pull this up here. Well, it doesn't want me to do that. The OneDrive thing is a little finicky actually. I don't like it for this reason, but there's no perfect system for this kind of thing. I might actually be putting this in the wrong place, so hold on one second. Let me go to desktop code. So now I'm doing these more publicly for you guys. Oh Lord. Okay, let's see. Oh boy. Okay, that should work. Yeah, there's no perfect system, unfortunately. Excel has its limitations, Google Sheets has its limitations, they all have their own limitations. So, where is that? Now I'm getting annoyed. When I get annoyed, bad things happen. Don't annoy me. I'm just kidding. I said I wouldn't entertain, but I can't help it sometimes. Is this case sensitive? Really? Hope not. It's the only thing I can think of. Okay. But why? But why? Yeah, like, but why? Alright, let's just open it like that. Yeah, you can see revenue for Microsoft last quarter was $49 billion, right? For Google, it was $68 billion. So technically, Google sells more product than Microsoft, right? On a quarterly basis. Isn't that crazy? Microsoft, let's figure this out. Microsoft founded, I want to say 1978? No, 1975. That's right, Bill Gates was, I forget what happened in 1978. Maybe an IPO? No, not quite that fast. Something happened in 78, I just forgot what it was. Oh yeah. I guess it was the photo.
Welcome to the history of Microsoft. It was the year 1978. Shadow Dancing by Andy Gibb topped the Billboard charts for the year. The United States banned chlorofluorocarbons as spray propellants for damaging the ozone layer, and in vitro fertilization found its first success with the birth of baby girl Louise Brown in the UK. But in 1970,
we didn't want to have a single product that was a dominant product. We wanted to hire in more software people and have a full product line. In a sense, one of the earliest things we decided to do,
Bill Gates was my hero, man. This is 93.
was to make available on the microprocessor
like
everything that had been available on the
my dad and my cousins and my uncle would all talk about Bill Gates.
mini computer. And that's why we did the languages, COBOL, assembler.
COBOL is a common business business-oriented language, I believe. It's one of the first computer programming languages. Business object language, common business object language, something like that. So anyway, Microsoft is 1975, right? Okay, when was Google? Was that 94, would you say? Oh, 98. Isn't that interesting? So Google had, Microsoft had, and Microsoft's arguably the most successful business of all time, right? $23-year head start. 23-year head start Microsoft had, and Google still has more revenue. How crazy is that? So it's interesting to see that even though it has more revenue, technically Microsoft is still more valuable, right? The market cap of Microsoft is higher. It's 1.9 trillion versus Google's 1.5 trillion. It's pretty close though. 23-year head start. It's really remarkable. So always you got to look at the age of a company to determine its success as much as anything else. It's also works that way with wealth. It's very, I won't say easy, but it's easier when you have more time to get wealthy. That's why a lot of the wealthiest people are very old. That's why somebody like Mark Zuckerberg is very, very impressive, because he's wealthier than most people, and he's also still quite young. So anyway, you do the formulas in here, and I won't belabor that, but like I said, they should all sort of fall together. And at some point, we'll go through exactly how the balance sheet works, or I'm sorry, this is an income statement, how exactly the income statement works and what it means. But suffice it to say that it's sometimes called the statement of operations, because it's a snapshot of how the business did in that quarter. And what I like to do is I like to list them all side by side, because this is useful to look at, but it's not telling me about the quarter before, or the quarter before that, or the quarter before that. It's only giving me this last quarter and the year before quarter, which is helpful, but it's not everything, and I'd like to see everything. See a picture of the company my way. And that's why making these models is a highly customized thing. You can't just make one template. You can't make a computer program that's going to do it all for you. This is the best way to do it by far. And I've tried every single way. Got a lot of my own special tools I made myself with a team of 10 programmers that work for me. So let's see, I'm going to put a decimal point here. All right. Oops, I put COGS and gross profit backwards here. COGS is cost of goods sold, so that's the cost of actually making the product in question. And for Google, that's actually mostly traffic acquisition cost, I believe. All right, so the gross margin's pretty low actually for a software company, but it's not that big deal. Their operating margin's quite high, which we'll talk about later, but let's look at revenue growth. Very fast, 23% revenue growth, and that's, you know, like I said, they have one of the best products ever made. Their ad machine. But if you took Google's earnings, 66 billion a year, because last quarter was 16, So you multiply 16 times 4 and you get 66 billion. We're going to divide enterprise value by 66 billion. And we get 20 times earnings. That's actually quite cheap. All right, so I'm going to make a mistake here. You should not do this. I'm just going to go buy some Google right now. Just because I don't want to be too boring here. All right, so what do we do? Let's buy 1 share of Google, 2 shares. Let's buy 2 shares. The stock price is so large, you can buy a half a share if you'd like. But I'm going to buy 2 shares. I'm just going to buy at the market. All right.
Order filled.
Thank you. So we bought 2 shares of Google for $21.99.84 a piece. And that's about $4,000, you can see. So we're long Google, AMC, and SPY. So we're all long. We don't have any shorts. So we are betting basically that the market will go up. We also have some cash, $41,000 of cash here. So most of the account is not invested, about 20% invested. But, you know, we'll see how that goes. Again, I don't recommend you invest with that kind of decision-making process. It takes a lot more to make an investment than that. It takes hundreds of hours of homework and research. But I just wanted to spice things up a little bit. Anyway, it's not going to be too risky at 2 shares. What's the worst that can happen, right? Let's continue. Sorry I'm not paying attention. I just want to focus on this for a second. All right, so actually the income statement's the most important thing for Google. I think the cash flow statement, well, cash flow statement is pretty important. Let me just jot down these as a shortcut. These are the 3 things I really care about. Cash flow from operations, CapEx, and free cash flow. All right. All right. Cool. All right, so I want to look at the next quarter, or the prior quarter for Google. And again, these are really brief kind of, the very, very brief kind of processes for looking at a company. There's a lot more to doing all this. For example, here's their revenue breakdown, which is so important. I'm going to stop here and do it. They got services, cloud, other bets. Okay, so, and then let's put FX in as well. Why not? All right, so services for Google is what you would expect. YouTube, it's search, of course, so forth. Cloud is different. That's the Google Cloud Platform, which is what programmers use. It's like Amazon's AWS. You can see Google Cloud's growing somewhat fast, much faster than the rest of the business. Right? And how do you do that calculation? Well, let's do it in a second here. You take new, which is the new number, right? So let's do services growth. So we take equals in Excel to get the formula system. We go to the new number, which in this case is 61, divide by the old number, and this is how we do a comparison. And we subtract by 1 to get it in a percentage format. And they grew services by 20%. So again, for them, services means YouTube and search and all the stuff like Google Maps and all that kind of stuff. Cloud, everybody's heard of cloud. This is similar to Amazon Web Services. So I'll show you my cloud, AWS cloud. Sign in. All right. So this is AWS Cloud, and it's got all kinds of services, virtual servers, managed databases, all kinds of container systems, all types of tools, databases. Look at all this stuff. There's so much stuff. Machine learning, media services, quantum technologies, robotics, satellite. I could do anything on this thing. and they'll charge you for it. That's for sure. So Google has one similarly, and Microsoft has one called Azure. So everybody, not everybody, but these big companies have these cloud technologies that are very exciting. So let's look at new divided by old. Q1 22 divided by Q1 21 minus 1. Wow, Google Cloud grew 44% last quarter. That's really fast. That's faster than the other business, which only grew 20%. And it's a smaller business, so it can kind of grow maybe a little more easily. I don't know. But let's leave that at that. See if you guys have any questions or whatever. And I'm going to also look at, Google has this laid out nicely, and you can see each company lays it out a bit differently. The SEC website also lays it out. So, all right, well, here's Q4. At what point do you recommend moving out? Moving out of what? You don't want to automate this process. There's a lot, yeah, it just doesn't make sense to automate it. And it's hard to explain why, but I'll explain some other time. So they even break down revenue even more than this. Oops. And so what we're going to do is do what they do. They've got search. You can see search is half of Google services. Isn't that interesting? Then they've got YouTube. 31 billion, 32 billion from search. 6 billion from YouTube. 7 billion. Google Network. And those three make up, well, you got Google Other. Could be Android, could be, I don't know. Lots of things, right? Oop, I got the wrong column too. This was all last year's. This year, let's see, Google, let's start again. Search, 43 billion. YouTube, 8 billion. Network, 9 billion. And other, 8 billion. So the total there was, oops, and I'm messing this up big time. Let me go back. Putting in the wrong column. All right, start from scratch. We're looking at Q4 21, first of all. So, for Q4 21, Google search. All right, got that. Now YouTube. And you can see YouTube is a big business to be sure, but it's not nearly as big as search as you can imagine. Search is much bigger. All right. And now Google Network. All right, so this is a better breakdown than we did last quarter of what their actual revenue is. All right, there's cloud. I'm going to add this to cloud, services to cloud. Is that how we do it? I got that right? Maybe not. Yep, no, that's right. I'm going to add the other two lines, hedging and other bets. Other bets has been a big disappointment for Google, I think. Is there music? I don't think there's music playing. Maybe you guys can hear it. I can't. Must be my new Gunther album. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, Microsoft would have been a good short, it turns out, right? Well, we're up $11 on our Google, so make back some of the mistake we made with Microsoft. All right. There's also a number of employees and traffic acquisition costs here, which is both pretty cool things to track. Anyway, let's do what we did before. Let's just slot these in real quick. Okay. Now let's do last year. Somebody outside is playing some music and sounds like some kind of loud rap music. I don't appreciate it. I'm trying to work. I may have to go downstairs and explain that they must cease and desist immediately before action is taken. Will not be permissible, sir, for you to continue in this reckless manner, in total disregard for my I might have to make a call, have somebody do my dirty work for me. I'm too busy. But when I got really mad, I would go down there myself immediately. Immediately. Alright, let's see. I've not had to raise my voice in years. I'd like to keep it that way. Oops, got my numbers backwards again, because Google's way of doing this is a little backwards. Well, at least it's not reverse Polish notation or something. Right, so we got, we take these two quarters, oh, we can do this, multiply by 4, we get, again, 67-ish, 68 billion. But that's growing quickly, so you're paying 19 times earnings for, I don't know, 20% earnings growth, so maybe, wow, that's a really cheap stock. I don't think Google's earnings will go down anytime soon, right? Doesn't seem like it. Pretty diverse as well. I mean, I guess it's not that diverse if you look at search. Search is still, let's see, as a percentage of revenue, search is what percentage of the business? So search, but that's not just, by the way, Google search on the front page, I don't think. That's Google search across a lot of different properties. I think, like maps and things like that, still search. Maps isn't probably that big, but regardless, it's still half the business. So if something bad happens to Google search, it's certainly possible. I mean, it doesn't seem likely, but like a pretty good risk reward. Better than Microsoft at the very least. Microsoft just has different properties. It's got less risk maybe than Google for the same reason. Let's do the annual numbers as well. Let's do it like this. And we're going to do forecasts at some point soon too. Long-term forecasts. So for the year, Google had revenue of $182 billion for 2020 and $256 billion, $257 billion for 2021. How crazy is that? Enormous business, huh? Just never used to seeing numbers like that in healthcare. There's no drug company that sells that much. Okay. Yeah, so for the year 2021 versus 2020, they grew 40% revenue growth, like they were a young company or something. That's crazy. Really wild. All right. Let's go back one more quarter. I want to view this later. Video about computer science stuff. All right. Search, search, search. Well, they didn't. Oh, no, they did. Okay, let's see. 37,926, 7205, 7999, 6754, 90, 182, 62. All right. I have some atopic dermatitis or something. Maybe scalp psoriasis. I have a lot of atopic disease in general. I have some like sinusitis, some itching. It basically comes from having an overactive immune system. There's a new drug called Dupixent, which I'd like to take. I even have a little asthma sometimes. So it's all atopic disease, allergic response. You biopharma people out there know what I'm talking about. Thing about me is you can't really troll me. I'm the greatest troll of all time. If you try to troll me, that's when the old me comes out. And when the old me comes out, you don't want that. You don't want to be on the receiving end of my trolls. You can see one time some kid tried to troll me. Called his high school principal. Made him apologize. Called his mother. Went on a date with her. Don't troll me. I don't want to go back to that life. I also don't want to go back to prison. All right. So there's some revenue growth deceleration for Google. A lot of people think these tech companies are decelerating rapidly because of pandemic sort of slowing down. Well, to me, I think that's nonsense. I mean, I think that it's hard to lap. You have these comparable issues, right, where it's hard to sort of keep growing after growth. So this idea that maybe demand was pulled in from future quarters was pulled into current quarters, and that we're going to see that slow down to a point of we're going to see negative. I really don't think so. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but never say never. Got to be careful. Okay. Everything here matches up. And you can see Google's ad machine goes brrr. Money machine goes brr, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? What am I doing? I need more like the burr sound. Yeah, some weird anime stuff. Alright, anyway. You can see the revenue, 38 billion, 46, 57, 55, 62, 65, 75, 68. Okay. Cool. Alright, so that's more or less a wrap for brief Google income statement. Not too heavy duty here, just sort of a stub to get started on. As I build these models up, they'll be more and more sophisticated. Again, I'll share this on GitHub real quick so y'all can download it. Who do you know does stuff like this, huh? Who do you know? Oh yeah, hit the subscribe button. That's what Google wants you to do. Hit subscribe. That's good for me somehow, I think. Alright, everything here added up. Let me see. I want to see if my friend Rob is streaming. He's really remarkably smart. He's a professional investor, so he was in hedge fund game for a while. That's where I met him many years ago. And